So that's what we did. We decided that we'd fly the mission at high altitude with distance between us and the bomb with altitude. When the bomb left the airplane, and it took 43 seconds from the time the bomb left the airplane until it exploded at 1,800 feet. We made a 150-degree turn, went back the way we came, and we got far enough away, apparently, we got far enough away before the bomb exploded. So then we turned around to take a look at that. We turned around, we flew back toward Hiroshima, and I'm jumping the gun here. But when we get back to Hiroshima, we could see nothing except debris and stuff that was tossed up by the bomb with some fires out on the south side and everything else. Okay, now that's what we did. Now, we had two different bombs over there. You don't know it, but we had two different bombs over there. We dropped the only uranium-235 bomb ever dropped in war. We dropped it on Hiroshima. We used all the uranium-235 made at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, up until that time in our one bomb. We could not have dropped another bomb if we had wanted to. Fortunately, our scientists figured out how to make an atomic weapon out of plutonium. The bomb dropped out here at Nagasaki was a plutonium bomb, not a uranium-235 bomb. All subsequent bombs, up until this time, were made of plutonium. We dropped the only uranium-235 bomb that was ever dropped. Now, uranium-235 had a peculiar thing. It would sustain a chain reaction when you dropped it. If it was ultra pure. If you go up to Oak Ridge, Tennessee now, and they take you into one of the plants, they probably won't. If they did, you will see they have cyclotrons up there, and they put a woman at every cyclotron, and the job of that woman was to catch the uranium-235 molecules. That's a come over. Toss away the rest of it. That's how we collected enough uranium-235 power bomb. It still exists. They were using it to make medical uranium the last time I was up there. Okay, now I said we had a plutonium bomb. We dropped that out on Nagasaki. Chuck Sweeney. I forget these names off the way. Chuck Sweeney dropped a bomb on Nagasaki. His mission was to drop the bomb on a primary target. He picked out, he followed the missions, of course, but that's all right. Because he waited 35 minutes for a third airplane to show up. It did not show up. He then went on to his target, Kokura, made 4 passes at Kokura, and Kermit Behan could not see to drop the bomb. So they decided to go on to Nagasaki and line up on a radar run against instructions. Our instructions were, drop the bomb visually, know where it is going. Do not drop it through the clouds away. You guys used to do over there. So basically, that's what they did. They lined up on a radar run. And my counterpart, Jim Van Pelt, lined up on the radar run. They lined up on it and everything else. The last minute, clouds open up. Behan sees the ground. Behan says, I dropped the bomb visually. He saw the ground in about 12 minutes. He did not drop the bomb visually, but the war's over. Why make a big stink about it? Everything else. So anyhow, they went on and they landed at a fighter air base on Okinawa, where Jimmy Doodle was commanding at the time. By the way, I can't see anything out there. I had eye surgery, and I got 4 drops of this eye and 3 drops of this eye. As a result, I can't see a thing. That's okay. And anyway, they dropped in Nagasaki. Their first job when they landed was to park the airplane, get out, and find out where that damn bomb went. And everything else. That's how they found out it went, and everything else. So then, they finally get back in touch with Tinian. They were missing for about 24 hours. They get in touch with us. We tell them, okay, come on home, the war's over, and so on and so forth. Later on, I wanted to get out of the service. I had over 1,000 points. And I says, I have 1,000 points, let me out of the service. They says, oh no, you're essential, you've got to go to the bikini test. I says, what? I says, what are the bikini tests? When we started talking about the bikini test, we estimated we need 10 airplanes and 300 men for the job. We had so many men over there, we couldn't even park them all on the island of Kawaja. So much for our government in action. It's still going on. So I went over to the bikini test. I get out of the bikini test. The ironic point of the bikini test was the first of the bomb that was dropped in the air. Tom Fairby, our bombardier, looked at the bomb and says, that bomb is going to drop short and to the left. The bomb hit exactly where he predicted. It missed the target by a half a mile. Nobody was shooting at him, and they missed the target by a half a mile. For crying out loud. Anyhow, they were the week one and everything else. Let me just say to you, I went up to Nagasaki after the war. We wanted us to get the scientists in there to find out what had happened in the bomb explosion. And so we took them up there. We went up there, Tokyo. We got a hold of Japanese scientists, took them with us. We could not land at Hiroshima, no landing field. We landed at Okinawa, at Nagasaki, on a field that went uphill one way, downhill the other way. Unpaved, I think we were the first people to ever land up in the C-54 there. All the commander wanted to do was give somebody his soul. He wanted to surrender. Will you take my sword? I want to surrender. That's what he was saying in Japanese. I spent 2 days in Nagasaki. I saw the most poignant sight I've ever seen in my life. I'm standing near a bus stop. Nagasaki's all cleaned up at this time. Bodies are gone. All the damage is gone, everything like that. I'm standing at this bus stop, and this ex-Japanese soldier gets off the bus. He's looking for his home. He has no home. It has been destroyed in the atomic explosion. And I looked at Tom Fairby, and Tom was standing with me at the time. And I looked at Tom and I said, if the war had gone the other way, Tom, that would be us getting off that bus. And that sort of thing. That would not have been a nice affair. Anyhow, with that, I'm going to close my talk. And I probably have missed a lot of questions you want to have answers to. So I asked them. Good, I covered everything. I'm ready for the test. No questions? You have one.
How many missions did you fly in Europe? yourself?
I flew 58 missions in Europe and two in the Pacific.
How many in 58?
58.
Okay.
Oh, I
I was thinking that 35 was, or 25 or 35.
well, every time we got to approach it, they changed it. Everything. 35 was what you had to fly over in England. I moved down to North Africa, they changed it to 50. I flew 50. By that time, I had 58 already, and this sort of thing. They just kept making yours even a bit long.
So what did you do?
And I say, you're looking at the luckiest guy alive. I don't know how I ever lived through it, or anything like that.
What did you do after the war? Were you
What
successful?
did I do after the war?
Yes.
I went back to school. I got a couple of degrees in chemical engineering. I took a job with a company called DuPont and this sort of thing. I ended up as a vice president of DuPont. That's all I'll say. I don't know. Yes, sir.
Sir, I trained in the Army in 1957, and they showed us a lot of training film about the atomic bomb. I want you to tell me, if you can, after you released the bomb and you were getting away from the explosion site, were the training film we saw accurate, where they